You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Check out the Israel Sports Radio store by clicking on the store tab on IsraelSportsRadio.com. Great items such as t-shirts, hats, books, and much, much more. Price does include shipping, and we do ship throughout the entire world. All major credit cards are accepted to make your shopping experience easy and convenient. So once again, click on the store tab on www.IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting founder Dick Robinson.
You know, the media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere, on air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting with locations up and down the East Coast from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools. Redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
Live from Studio C at the Cherry Hill campus for the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, it's Sports Talk with the...
Down goes Frazier! He scores! High fly ball into right field. She is gone! Whoa, Black Betty, bam, lamb, whoa, Black Betty.
Welcome to another edition of Sports Talk on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. As always, 856-330-4749 to jump in on the conversation, or you can send me a tweet at the Yossi G. That's THEYOSSI and the letter G, all one word, or you can check me out on Facebook and send me a message through that medium, Facebook.com, and search for Sports Talk. One of the things that have been going on in this really, really buzzworthy week, everything kind of leading up to this Super Bowl 48, the Yankees making a deal, shoring up their starting rotation, the Phillies continuing to make moves that really allow for, some head scratching to continuously happen. What's going on there with Ruben Amaro up in the Philadelphia general management, what they're really doing, how they're going forward. It's really, it kind of makes you wonder what exactly they're drinking in Philadelphia. And of course, the NFC title game post-game on-field interview between ESPN's Aaron Andrews and the Seahawks defensive back, cornerback, Richard Sherman. Of course, if anybody hasn't heard the actual audio, take a listen.
I'm the best one in the game. When you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're going to get. Don't you ever talk about me.
Who was talking about you?
Look at Crabtree. Don't you open your mouth about the best. Or I'm going to shut it for you real quick. LOB.
And there you have Richard Sherman, I don't want to say running his mouth, but saying certainly exactly what he felt at that moment, the height of the moment. It's just after the game, just after he made that incredible acrobatic play in midair, turning his body, deflecting the ball to his teammate for the interception that essentially clinched the Seattle Seahawks ticket to the Super Bowl in New Jersey. Super Bowl 48 going to be held in East Rutherford in a week and a half. The issue, though, with what happened wasn't necessarily what he said or the gestures that he displayed on the field right before the interview happened. Now, if you were living under a rock and you have not seen the replays and you haven't heard what had happened, let's just quickly recap. Basically, after the interception occurs, And then, of course, the subsequent kneel-downs by the Seahawks. Game's over, all said and done. That's it. What happens before, in between the interception and the kneel-downs, is Richard Sherman runs over to Michael Crabtree, who he was referring to in the audio to Aaron Andrews, runs over to the receiver he was covering the entire game and gives him a little, pat on the butt and gives him and offers a hand as a handshake. And in the audio that was heard thereafter on NFL Rewind, you actually hear him telling Crabtree, good game, bro, good game. And instead of returning a hand to Richard Sherman, as cold as he could have been, as cold as his handshake could have been, Michael Crabtree instead chooses to shove his hand, push his hand into Sherman's face mask, and that is when Richard Sherman went off, in my opinion. That's when he made the choking sign towards Colin Kaepernick, towards the 49ers sidelines. That's when and then the interview happens with Aaron Andrews, between he and Andrews, and that's then the words that he chooses to put forth out onto the airwaves that then literally were heard around the world. The average fan who never heard of Richard Sherman, probably never heard of the Seattle Seahawks, and knows very little about the National Football League, what their reintroduction, in a sense, and their introduction to Richard Sherman was this quote. The people who are watching CNN, MSNBC, I go down the list of all the different types of news outlets, let alone the sport outlets, sports talk radio stations, and the like. This is the clip they kept showing over and over and over again. I have no problem with what he said or what he did. I don't. You want to call me a heretic? You want to call me somebody who is a little old-fashioned? So be it. But I stand by my belief. He acted purely in the fashion that he saw fit. When you look at the history between these two guys, Michael Crabtree allegedly tried starting a fight, wanted to fight Richard Sherman last offseason when they were both at a golf charity event that was put together by receiver for the Arizona Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald. It almost came to blows. So these two have had a history between each other. Of course, the teams also have a history with one another. Rivals, division rivals, actual, physical. I mean, they neighbor each other with just Oregon right in between them. I mean, it's not that far away. They are the closest to one another in terms of football rivals' physical locations. And then when you look at this game, they were jawing at each other. They were talking trash to one another. And Richard Sherman was thrilled to lock Crabtree down, to make sure he wasn't going anywhere, so much so that he was only targeted twice and came away with nothing. Richard Sherman was proud of this. And he has every right to be. This guy, he came in as a fifth rounder, drafted in the fifth round. He was a wide receiver turned cornerback at Stanford University. So this guy isn't some dumb jock. This guy actually has a head on his shoulders. He knows what he's doing, and dare I even may say that he picked the perfect place and picked the perfect spot to do it. Because who doesn't love a little bit of titillating action? Who doesn't love a little bit of trash talk? Who doesn't love a little bit of something you're not expecting? And then to go ahead and back it up. He didn't trash talk before the game and say, oh, Michael Crabtree can't do nothing on me. He's not going to be able to get anything. He let his gameplay do the talking, and then he backed it up with words thereafter because, hey, you won. You just earned your team a trip to help earn your team a trip to the Super Bowl. Go ahead and gloat. Dude, you earned it. It's all you, man. 100%. You didn't ask for the microphones to be put in your face. You didn't ask for the camera to be stuck right in front of your beautiful facial features, right in front of your noggin. You didn't ask for that. It was placed there. You just made probably at this point probably the play of your career. And now there's a camera and a microphone in your face. Of course you're going to gloat. In the era of self-image, this is the best thing that could have happened to Richard Sherman because I truly believe in there's no such thing as bad press. And here, Richard Sherman has this ability. He's very good with his words. He's articulate. He knows what he's talking about. He can back things up with play on the field. And he's a smart guy. Came from a really, really rough and tough background and made something of himself. Maybe Slim Jim will sign him up to a contract. We haven't had anybody since Macho Man Randy Savage, left us in this world and moved on to, perhaps a better place. Maybe he'll step up to a Slim Jim. Maybe maybe he'll be the new spokesperson for Under Armour. We must protect his house. Who knows? This is probably the best thing that Richard Sherman could do, because suddenly it's also not only about him. Now people are also talking about this little-known team out in middle of whoop-whoop America in the Pacific Northwest, where all we know about that place is coffee and rain. Now people know there's an NFL team there called the Seattle Seahawks. Now they know that there's an NFL team out there who is coming to the East Coast to represent the National Football Conference in Super Bowl 48. So not only does he do himself a justice by saying what he said and making those gestures and gaining and garnering all that attention, but it also continues to sprout forth. It's that gift that keeps on giving, because it's not just him anymore. They also look at, who does this guy play for? What sport is he? Where are they located? How come I've never heard of this team? And suddenly people will start thinking and doing and realizing that there is a franchise called the Seattle Seahawks, and their defense is that damn good. The one issue that I have, and it's not really even with Sherman, the issue that I have is with a term that was used to describe him in the immediate aftermath of what he said and what he did, immediate aftermath of the game. And that term, it seems to be the new in vogue word usage that has, and probably that essentially has replaced the N-word. And that term is thug. Now, when I looked at the dictionary, I don't know about you guys, but when I looked at the dictionary, when I looked up the word thug, what I saw as a explanation according to the dictionary is somebody who goes and lives a life of violent crime. Last I checked, Richard Sherman's not living a life of violent crime. Or you can even go a step further and take Tupac Shakur's version. A thug is somebody who lives his life going through daily struggles. Well, Sherman's not a thug. Expressing himself in the post-game conference on the field, in the interview with Andrews, that's hardly criminal activity. Calling himself the best cornerback in the NFL, that might be the closest thing that he comes to regarding daily struggles. But does that make him a thug? Because he struggles on a daily basis to be the best that he can be in the sport that he so chooses to play in the position that he does so well? Let me ask you this. Remember when Tom Brady and the New England Patriots lost a couple weeks ago to the Carolina Panthers because of a last-minute controversial call? And he just went nuts. Tom Terrific went ballistic at the Zebras, at the referees, because of that call. And let me tell you, he used a lot more colorful language towards the authority on the field than Sherman did post-game, and yet you don't hear anybody calling Brady a thug. Do I think Brady's thuggish? No. Do I think Sherman is Sherman thuggish? I don't know. He's not either thuggish. I want to take another step back. Eric Adelson on Yahoo Sports, he did a little digging of his own, and he pointed out, and I saw this there in an article that he wrote, they pointed out the word thuggy referred to a Indian man, or actually an Indian group, network of gangs that were known for brutal robberies in the 17th century India. Now, I find it highly unlikely that Sherman is being called out on the Hindi root of this word. Do you remember a hockey game a couple days ago between the Canucks and the Flames. The Vancouver Canucks and the Calgary Flames played in Vancouver. And this game gave credence to that oft-heard joke by people who are not necessarily diehard fans of the NHL that, I went to a hockey game and a fight broke out. A boxing match broke out. That's exactly what happened. Yet nobody's calling the 10 players involved on the ice involved in the melee thugs or having committed an act of thuggery. They're just hockey players. The word thug is borderline racist and shouldn't even be used in today's society. If you don't believe me, Google the name Trayvon Martin and see the results that you're going to get. I'm sure thug is going to be one of those things that come up, and probably more than just once. Don't you think this is a clear and tragic example of how bastardized this word has become? When I look at what could happen going forward, and it's unfortunate that it's going to supersede the actual Super Bowl, the actual game, the actual matchups. The Super Bowl week, the week leading up to the Super Bowl where the media has all this access, coverage, players, and everything, it has a rare power. Last year, we remember the homophobic comments that were made by 49ers defensive back Chris Culliver. Remember how that backlash happened, how it kind of allowed everybody to take a step back and look at what he said and see how it related to his life, to your life. This year, it may be this term, thug, regarding Richard Sherman, who is anything but a brutish gangster in my opinion. It may be Sherman's time to shine off the field. He knows everyone's watching. He knows everyone is listening, and he's not holding back. Maybe that makes him a rabble-rouser. Maybe, perhaps, an opportunist. Also possible. But it certainly doesn't make him a thug, because he's going to have that spotlight on him, and he's going to let it shine. This is going to be a term that probably will be brought up to him, question that he'll be asked most likely more than once. How does he feel about it? And we know what the answer is going to be. That answer is going to be he's not going to be liking that term, and he's probably going to ask for this term to be abolished in some sort of fashion, because it is the quote-unquote allowed N-word usage. It's allowed these days. It for whatever reason, it's become the agreed-upon method of calling a black person the N-word by just referring to them as a thug. When I come back from this quick commercial break, I'm going to bring to you the Seattle version. We're going to have on two guests. Well, first guest again is going to be Big Ben Block, our NFL insider up in the Pacific Northwest. We're going to ask him what he thinks about this whole Richard Sherman, the thug, the whole post-game interview and all that. And, of course, what is the keys for Seattle to beat the Denver Broncos and bring home their first Super Bowl trophy in the history of the franchise? You're listening to Sports Talk with us here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Honey, again you're sitting here sulking?
I hate my job, and I don't know what to do to change it.
Get off the couch and go check out the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
The Connecticut School of Broadcasting? What's that? The Connecticut School of Broadcasting offers a career and lifestyle change through a broadcasting experience you won't ever forget. Log on to GoCSB.com to find out how a career in broadcasting is for you and not just the people you see on TV or hear on the radio. CSB focuses on many aspects of real-world broadcasting, and their knowledgeable instructors teach you through a hands-on approach so you're in the studio in no time. To find out how CSB can help you work in an industry you love, call 1-800-TV-RADIO or check us out online at GoCSB.com. Why work 50 weeks a year for a 2-week vacation when you can enjoy your job every day? Don't just sit there. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Thanks, CSB.
Your computer is blowing up to the sounds of All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Sports Talk on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. And you all know what's been going on the last week. Super Bowl preparations, Richard Sherman running his mouth a little bit with Aaron Andrews there after the post-game interview on the field after the Seattle Seahawks beat the San Francisco 49ers for the right to go to New York, New Jersey, East Rutherford, New Jersey, for Super Bowl 48 representing the NFC. And right now joining me on Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi is probably one of the largest, biggest, baddest Seattle Seahawks fans that I know. He is our West Coast NFL insider, Big Ben Block. Ben, how are you doing over there in the West Coast?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Very good, very good. So first off, with regards to this team, now what have you seen with the Seahawks over the course of the season that, I know that you're picking them to win this, and we'll get to that in a moment, but what have you seen over the course of the season that has proven to you that this is the team to beat in the big game on Sunday, or rather in a week and a half?
You know, they play real football. Football is a game about hitting, and they got away from that over the last decade. You got into spread offenses and a lot of more just coverage-oriented defenses and away from the fundamentals of how the game works. At the end of the day, there's a reason that you put on a helmet and shoulder pads. And it's because you hit. And you come with it, and you come with some real physicality and some real aggression. And that's the way the game is played. And that's the way the Seahawks play on both sides of the ball. When you look at how much they get penalized for kind of a lot of the NFL stop the rules and, so on and so forth, they come to hit. And both sides of the ball. It's not just the defense. That offensive line loves to hit. Marshawn Lynch likes to hit. Everybody you got in that backfield loves to hit. Russell Wilson, you'll see him throw blocks. So their real strength is just playing the game of football the way it was meant to be played. You can try all sorts of tricks. How many great college quarterbacks played a spread in college, came to the pros, and, did nothing as soon as it became about pure execution of something much more simple. Even what Denver runs. Or the other great offenses in the NFL, New England, New Orleans, the list goes on.
All right,
that is a much simpler thing that you'll see on other levels.
So let me ask you.
It's an execution thing.
Right. Now, so let me ask you, in terms of the offense, now a lot has been made about this game where it's the Seattle defense versus the Denver offense, Peyton Manning, how he's going to play against this defense and what it brings to the table. But not a lot has been made, like you mentioned, about the offensive portion of the Seattle Seahawks football team and what they bring to the table and how it's led by Russell Wilson down the field. How do you see the offense playing out against the Denver defense, a defense that is missing a couple of key parts to it?
Denver's defense is not as bad as people give it credit for. Over the season, they ranked 8th in opponents rushing. In their last 2 games, they've held 2 really good quarterbacks to 17 and 16 points, respectively. And they got something to bring to the table. And honestly, what happened between Denver's rushing defense and Seattle's rushing offense is probably going to make a bigger difference in the game than Denver's offense versus Seattle's defense. Those two cancel each other out, hands down. Will Peyton get his touchdown passes? Yes. Will he get picked? Or will he get stripped? Will he get picked 6? At least 2 of those 3 things will happen as well. It's going to cancel each other out. So the question is, well, who controls the line of scrimmage when the Seahawks have the ball? Once Marshawn Lynch gets rolling, it's really hard to stop him. The Seahawks have an offensive line that wasn't built as a passing offensive line, although it gets kind of hard to tell because Russell Wilson is really short. And you can see it a lot while he's playing. You can see that when he's not scrambling, it's really hard for him to throw the ball. He's not a pocket quarterback. It wasn't built to be a pocket offensive line. But it was built to be a running offensive line. When you look at where they draft a lot of the guys out of, it's strong running, and Denver's running D's got some guys. They got some guys who can hold on up front. They got Knighton playing defensive tackle, and he's done pretty well. And Ryan, these guys can play. How well they match up against Max Unger and J.R. Sweezy, Paul McQuista, and James Carpenter on the inside is probably going to be a bigger factor than Peyton Manning versus the Legion of Boom.
Well, when you do put this type of an offense against a Denver-led defense that is missing guys in the middle that we know can plug holes and can plug holes really fast, it really I think like you're saying that it's going to come down to Marshawn Lynch and Russell Wilson, but more so Marshawn Lynch and what he can or cannot do against the defense, against Denver Broncos defense, and what they give him. But when you look at the Seattle playmakers and who they have, it really kind of focuses all on Marshawn Lynch, because the offensive, when you look at the wide receiving core, the tight ends, not a lot has been made about them. What will be the key?
True.
What will be the key for that part of the offense to come alive?
Necessarily true. Doug Baldwin is a big playmaker. Golden Tate is a playmaker. Zach Miller at tight end is a playmaker. People forget because they see Marshawn Lynch. They hear people talking about Percy Harvin, whenever he's playing. They forget that there's some guys who are under the radar that can make plays. Jermaine Kearse, a big guy, he makes plays too. Those guys will make plays if they have to, and that's, a lot of that's dependent on Russell Wilson, but, they're smarter. These are not big-name guys. Maybe Zach Miller. But, defenses don't gear towards them. And what ends up happening, if you look at the way a lot of teams play the Seahawks, is they'll load 8 or 9 guys in the box. So as soon as that happens, if Russell Wilson can start throwing some short passes to open it up, then it's a Seahawks ball game. But if you go back and you look at the first Seahawks St. Louis game, when St. Louis lost, I believe, on a last-minute pick or a 4th and goal that went incomplete, they had 8 or 9 guys in the box every single down. And it stuffed everything up and made it downright impossible. So will Denver do that? Maybe. And the truth is, nobody gives Denver's corners enough credit. Dominique Rodgers, Cromartie, Champ Bailey, they've been around for a while, but they aren't that bad.
Well, I think experience plays into it also.
It's going to depend a lot on whether or not the rushing game gets established and whether or not the Seahawks offense wants to branch out to short passes. Because that's the only way that you get past a defense that's going to bring 8 or 9 guys in the box.
All right. Well, now moving on from what we cannot necessarily predict in terms of what exactly is how it's going to play out. The game itself. What we do know is something from this past week, the NFC title game. Everybody's not talking about the game itself. Some of the great plays that were made, a horrific injury that happened during the game. It all comes lost in what happened between Richard Sherman and Aaron Andrews in that post-game press conference. What is talk in the Pacific Northwest about the comments, about the gesture, about the gestures that were made by Richard Sherman, and how he conducted himself on the field immediately after the game, as well as in that post-game press conference too?
You know what? We got Sherman's back, but people don't know Richard Sherman. The fact of the matter is, Richard Sherman is a guy who went and graduated from Stanford. He might even have a master's, if I heard correctly. This is not your run-of-the-mill, illiterate SEC player. This is not the guy who had somebody go to class for him. This is the guy who is well-educated, well-versed, extremely well-spoken. For somebody like an NFL player to use the word mediocre to describe another player, it should tell you a thing or two about his level of competence, intelligence, and intellectual capacity. And part of what he brings to it is exactly that. And people don't like it. Because Richard Sherman is smarter than not just all these other guys in the NFL, but the majority of America. And he knows it. But, moreover, he also does it to get some more attention to the Seahawks. Because quite frankly, when you're in the Pacific Northwest, you're really kind of off the radar. I mean, for the most part, how much coverage do the Jets and Giants, who are both terrible, get this season versus, the Seahawks? And it's a match. So he may be running his mouth. But, when he's running his mouth, he's saying, hey, by the way, we're here. We're that good.
But is it something that it did come across a little bit as being all about me, being all about Richard Sherman, and not necessarily being about the team? Did that come across to how you viewed it and how people in Seattle viewed the post-game interview?
I don't think so. I think the way he looks at it, he's a real competitor, That's what he wants. He wants you to go against him. Very rarely do quarterbacks throw against him. You go back, I would be willing to bet you that they throw to the opposite corner 90% of the time. So when a quarterback and a wide receiver want to go head-to-head with him, he's going to approach it with that attitude. And I don't think there's a guy out on the field that doesn't have the attitude that, yeah, if you come at me, I'm going to mess you up. If you come at me, I got this. That's the way football is played. The fact that Sherman vocalizes it a little better is merely a result of him being, significantly more intelligent. But I don't think he's putting himself above the team. That's a competitor's attitude. These guys jaw all game. They don't talk to the cameras as much. Most of these guys receive, all sorts of media training. And for a guy like Sherman, well, you know what? He's going to say what he's going to say. He doesn't necessarily need to be coached on what he's going to say.
Now, let me ask you this, and last question before I let you go. And, of course, this is something that everybody wants to know. Who do you have in Super Bowl 48 and why?
Seahawks, 27-17. Peyton gets his 2 nice touchdown throws. They get a field goal. But Seahawks control the ball, pound the ground game, create some serious turnovers with the defense, and just take it and run with it like that.
All right, fair enough,
It'll
Ben.
be close for a while, but you know what? The Seahawks will pull away. There'll be a few big passes. Marshawn Lynch will run for, 120 yards and probably a score. It's going to be about ball control, and that's it.
Fair enough, Ben. Well, that's it. At the end of the day, it's all about showing up and who plays it and who wants it more. This could be Peyton Manning's last game of his career, and certainly this could be the coming out party for the Seattle Seahawks. Big Ben Block, our NFL insider for the West Coast and specifically for the Pacific Northwest. Thanks so much for taking the time and hopping on with the Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi.
Thank you for having me.
No problem, man. That was Big Ben Block, our insider for all things football from the Pacific Northwest. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we have another special interview set up, and I'm told that he is just about ready to go, so we're going to go check out with a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back bringing to you the Denver portion of Super Bowl 48 and what to expect from the Broncos. You're listening to Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. AllNoiseRadio.com. Good evening, I'm Yossi Goldstein with your All Noise Radio Sports Update brought to you by Chabad Packer, where all your travel questions are answered. ChabadPacker.com. The Browns have reportedly reached a deal with Bills defensive coordinator Mike Pettine to become Cleveland's new head coach. Terms of the deal have not yet been finalized. Newly acquired New York Ranger Kevin Kline is making his Garden debut tonight as the Blue Shirts are skating with the Blues on Broadway in a scoreless tie. The Rangers are hoping to get it right after losing a tough one Tuesday night to the Crosstown Islanders 5-3. The Isles are hosting the Penguins on Long Island, where the score is still 0-0. The Flyers are hoping to return to the win column tonight against a red-hot Blue Jackets team in Columbus. The puck is set to drop in Ohio in just a few minutes. On the hardwood, the Brooklyn Nets, New York Knicks, and Philadelphia 76ers are all off tonight. Their next games are all scheduled for tomorrow evening. The New York Yankees and Japanese pitcher Masahiro Tanaka have officially agreed to terms of his 7-year, $155 million contract today. Tanaka went undefeated this past year in the Japanese Nippon League and has an opt-out option after the 4th year of his deal. The Brahmers hope this signing will lift a much-maligned starting rotation for the upcoming season. Down under at the Australian Open, Lee Na became the first woman to punch her ticket to the women's final by defeating Eugenie Bouchard handily in straight sets 6-2, 6-4, and Swiss native Stanislas Wawrinka ousted Thomas Berdych of the Czech Republic in a thrilling 4-set match, winning 6-3, 6-7, 7-6, 7-6 to earn his first career Grand Slam final appearance. All Noise Radio is your home for everything you need to know about sports, music, and news, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm Yossi Goldstein, and this has been your All Noise Radio Sports Update.
You know, our jobs occupy more than half our waking hours. Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production, every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.
All Noise Radio. The noise. The noise you can't ignore.
Welcome back, Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Like I promised before the break, and we have him on the line right now, is our own insider for all things Denver Broncos. Neil Amrani joins us on the Chabad Packer hotline. Chabad Packer, for all your travel questions, visit ChabadPacker.com. Neil, how are you?
Hi, Yossi. How are you?
Very good, man. Very good. I'm doing well, thank God. Here, we're all getting kind of set and psyched up for this Super Bowl 48. It's in our backyard. It's not for another week and a half, but even so, the questions already with the weather, because we're going through, well, I would say hellacious, but that would kind of give you some thoughts of warmth and heat, but it's anything but that kind of, when hell freezes over sort of thing, type of temperatures. We had this massive snowstorm here a couple days ago. In your opinion, from what you've seen with Peyton over the years and what you've seen how he's been since he's gone to the Broncos, playing in Denver, how will the cold weather affect his play in New Jersey in a week and a half?
Well, Yossi, personally, I really believe that I don't think it'll affect it that much at all. I mean, I actually think it'll affect Seattle a lot more. I know that in past discussions you felt that Seattle is a cold weather team. I think rain maybe, but I don't think we can take anything away from what Peyton will be able to do. I think that the Broncos are going to win this game, and very confidently so. I think it may be a tight game. I don't think it's going to be one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time. I just think they have too much. I don't believe that as good as Seattle's defense is, it'll be enough to stop them. Just Denver does too much across both sides of the ball. Physically, they're as physical as Seattle on defense. Offensively, I would absolutely give them the edge. They have a great run defense. And I just see I just see this Super Bowl as being a solid Denver win. Maybe a close game, 7 points, 10 points, but I don't think it being any closer than that.
Well, at the end of the day, it all starts from the field general. It all starts from how Peyton Manning runs the offense. And we've seen in the past that he has not been the same Peyton Manning that we've known to love or we've known and loved to hate as he's been in a dome or warm weather versus in a cold weather environment. And him coming to New Jersey and the preliminary forecasts are not for it to be such nice weather for Super Bowl 48. And I really think that it's going to favor the Seattle Seahawks were push come to shove in terms of inclement weather, because the Seattle offense is built around a running game. It's built around a strong defense, whereas the Denver game plan is all based around Peyton's arm. How do you see Peyton, kind of reaching out there, should it be very inclement weather, and pulling back, a retro game of Peyton Manning for one of the ages that we know that he can do?
Great point. Listen, no Sean Marino is no slouch. He's a 1,000-yard rusher. So let's back up a minute and say that, Denver is always perceived to be a passing first team. But I have no doubt that they'll be able to run the ball. They ran the ball all year. In the conference, Marino only had about 59 yards, 60 yards. Manning's passing ratings have been through the roof all season long. He's obviously set a record this year. I just think that if they have to do a dink and dunk, if they have to go long, they have the receivers for it. When you're talking about, players such as Decker, and Demaryius Thomas, and you're talking about some excellent ball control receivers, and he never seems to be short of being able to get the ball where he wants. And let's also be realistic. He's definitely got the quickest release in the game. He may not complete as many 40-yard plays, but anywhere from 10 to 20, I don't think that the wind is going to affect him that much. And then it's up to the defensive backs to make the play. I mean, Sherman's going to have to be on his game. Some people will claim he's the finest defensive back in the game today. Would you ever put him in the class with Revis? I don't think so. I don't think he's done it long enough. It's good to be brash, but, I just think you've got to do it year after year, and that's what Peyton has done. And everybody says he's only won one and Eli's won two. Listen, the guy's been a winner everywhere he's been, and he's had a hell of a career, and I think he's going to win his second Super Bowl on February 2nd.
But that has been really the stigma that has stuck with Peyton throughout his career. Yeah, he is probably the greatest regular season quarterback in the history of the game, but again, that is the regular season. He's led his team to the playoffs just about nearly every single year that he's been in the league, but
Yossi,
he's only...
Yossi, has he had the best team every year?
No,
well,
there have been years, but look at some of the players that have been on those teams, though. Look at some of the players he's had on Indianapolis.
Bottom line is he hasn't had the best team.
Look at some of the players
this year, he's got the best team.
Okay, he has perhaps the best offense, and just look at the numbers. Don't lie: 55 touchdown passes, the most completion yards, breaking Drew Brees' record from a couple years ago. The numbers don't lie. That is true. And when you look at the offense that Denver puts forth, the wide receivers that you mentioned, the running backs, the tight ends, all of the weapons that are at Peyton's disposal is certainly going to give any defensive coordinator fits. How do you see Seattle's defense trying to either stop the Denver offense, or actually looking at it the other way, how do you see Denver's offense blowing by the Seattle defense led by the loud, trash-talking, mouthed, named player of Richard Sherman?
Well, first of all, if I was the offensive coordinator, I would continue doing what they've been successful doing. And that means they're definitely a throw-first team. I would probably soften up the defense with, outs and ins, 10 yards, 15 yards, get them playing in. They're going to be physical. The cornerbacks are going to come up. They're going to try and hit Thomas and hit Decker and et cetera. But the bottom line here is let them keep doing what they're doing. We also have to remember that Julius Thomas had 65 catches for 788 yards. We forgot that they have Wes Welker. Okay.
I think last week we remembered that they had Wes Welker after what he did to Aqib Talib. I think everybody remember that Wes Welker is on that football team.
Well, the point I'm making is there are so many weapons. I mean, Marino had almost 60 receptions coming out of the backfield. So the idea here is, you're talking about a quarterback who had over 450 completions. You're talking about a quarterback that knows how to spread the ball around. You had 2 receivers over 1,000 yards. They're going to get the ball. The only way that I see Denver really coming out of this game is they need 2 or 3 interceptions. They need turnovers. They must get turnovers to win the game because offensively they just don't stack up. They need to keep it close to the vest. Denver's going to play their game. If Peyton throws interceptions, if there's a fumble, 3 or 4 turnovers, it's going to be a problem. 2 turnovers, I don't think is going to be a problem. That's my own feeling.
Well,
listen, Lynch fumbles also.
No, 100%. I mean, you don't have somebody who's that big who runs that hard without fumbling. But of course, that again, with regards to Peyton Manning, regarding those possible interceptions, the potentiality for strip sack fumbles, and that sort of nature, it all comes back to the weather. It all comes back to what we've seen at times with Peyton Manning in the past in very inclement weather. But I think at the end of the day, when you look at the offense of Denver, the defense of Seattle, we had a little earlier on the show, we had Ben Block, our NFL insider for up in the Pacific Northwest, down on the ground there in Seattle. And one of the things that we had spoken a lot off the air, and we touched on it a little bit on the air as well, is that when you look at both of these teams, the unsung heroes in a sense of what portions of the ball that both teams play that are not being mentioned is the Seattle offense against the Denver defense. You're looking at a Seattle offense with the likes of a quarterback who can run and throw in Russell Wilson, and beast mode, as he's known, Marshawn Lynch, their running back, going up against a defense without Von Miller in the middle. How do you see Denver overcoming that and facing probably the tallest task they've had to face all season?
I have to tell you something. With Russell Wilson, it's more about containment. Okay, he's going to scramble around as he did in the conference championship. He's going to find people open. He was being chased all over the place, and he still made some great completions. I still, in my heart, believe that he can be controlled. And I just don't think that offensively, even though Seattle has been a solid team all year, I just don't think they have enough to match up. And I think the Denver defense will do enough to hold them. It's contain. It's keep Lynch under 70 yards, 75 yards rushing, and let Wilson beat you with his arm. That's all. If they can contain the running game, then I think Seattle's even in more trouble, because the same wind conditions affect them as do Peyton. And I just don't think that Wilson has the arm strength. He has a great arm, but he doesn't have the arm strength, speed of release that Manning does. And, I'm calling Peyton Manning, as you said, I'll agree with you. He's next to Dan Marino, probably the 2 best quarterbacks that I shouldn't say never won, because Peyton won one. But I really believe that they're going to be doing enough to the Seattle offense to warrant it. And listen, Denver has had a great special teams this year. They've just played a great team, offense and defense, and special teams. They played great team ball. I mean, they're far superior in anything that they've been able to allow. I mean, they've had over 700 solo tackles, 41 sacks. Tackles for a loss were 59. They're going to be in there, and I have no doubt in my mind that I'm not guaranteeing, but if I would have bet the Super Bowl, I would put it on. I would put it on the Broncos.
Oh, you're not betting the line?
Too much.
You're not betting the line, Neil?
I'm sorry?
You're not going to go bet the line?
Yeah, I'm not going to. I'm going to lay low. I'm talking to you, Yo, so I got to be honest with you. It's important just to say what I think and what I feel. And I've been seeing this game long enough to know that this team is on all cylinders. They're just playing great. They just took apart, they just took apart the other team during the conference. They took apart New England. New England was never in the game.
100%. And New England also, as we are quick to always remind everybody that, you could kind of cancel out Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, but what you're left with are the receivers and the rest of the offense, and that's really where Denver took off. But also talking about conference title games, and before we let you go, I got to get your thoughts, because I brought this up a little earlier on in the show. I got to get your thoughts on this. Richard Sherman kind of goes off the wall. A lot of people called him out for this. A lot of people supported him for what he still said and did immediately after the game, right after the game. The comments that he said to Aaron Andrews of ESPN with that post-game interview, and the antics, the gestures that he made prior to that, immediately after the interception, the tip ball interception actually happened. What is your take on that?
What is my take? First of all, the game has changed a lot. And, today, you could drive down the field. Okay, you could have a 90-yard drive. You get stopped at the one, and the defense is jumping up and down like they really accomplished something. The bottom line is it was an emotional play. It was a play that basically sealed the game for them, got them a trip to the Super Bowl. It was a lot of emotions. He's being bravado. He's being brash. Was it called for? Absolutely not. Crabtree is a terrific receiver, and calling him, being called a thug. Listen, you know what? I just think it's the media going out of control. I think it was an incident, and it's also become habit though around the league, where players, they create a sack. I mean, they get a sack and they jump around like they scored the winning touchdown. It's just utterly, we've lost what this self-promoting has caused. Football is such a team game, and everything has to work. And if there's a breakdown, if a cog breaks down, the machine breaks down. And listen, it was just emotions. It happened. It was at the end of the game. Move on. The story will drop, and that's the end of it. And he apologized for it. And, I think he's a great player. I think his emotions got him, and I'm not making a big deal of it.
Well, when you look at it, one of the things I think that everybody kind of just went by the wayside is the fact that it wasn't even Sherman's. No doubt, we're not taking anything away from Richard Sherman, the tip ball, but it was the linebacker from Seattle who trailed the play to make that interception, to make it happen. If it's just a Richard Sherman tip ball incomplete, you go back, start again. About 30 seconds left of the game, 2 cracks at the end zone easily. It's only and you also have the timeout. So certainly it was, as you said, the team effort, and it certainly was a very entertaining game to watch, very fun game at the end, and certainly this game, Super Bowl 48, the last meaningful NFL game, the last meaningful football game of the immediate future, is surely going to provide fireworks and a lot of fun. Quickly, before we let you go, who's winning and by how much?
27-17, Denver.
Wow, this is going to be fun because, Ben Block gave me 27-17 Seattle. You give me 27-17 Denver. Should be something kind of in between maybe. That's how I'm looking at it right now, although my pick is going to come next week. Neil Amrani, our NFL insider for the Denver Broncos, thank you so much for joining me here on Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi, and good luck, and it should be fun tuning in to the Super Bowl.
Thanks a lot, Yossi. Enjoy the game. I had a lot of fun.
All right,
Thanks a lot.
All the best, Neil. Take care now. That was Neil Amrani, our insider, NFL insider for the Denver Broncos, bringing the Denver tune to the Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi program. When I come back, we just got a couple little things to wrap up here, talk a little bit about the New York Rangers' new acquisition, what you think about him, and of course the state of the Philadelphia Phillies. Are they tanking on purpose, or are they tanking accidentally? You're listening to Sports Talk with the Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
All Noise Radio, Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio. The noise you can't ignore.
Welcome back here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. As always, 856-330-4749 to chime in or to send me a tweet at the Yossi G, or find me on Facebook, facebook.com, and search for Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. The New York Rangers brought in made a trade 1-for-1. Michael Del Zotto, sending him to Nashville, bringing in Kevin Klein. He's in his 6th full season in the NHL. Teammates with Ryan Callahan and Dan Girardi in juniors. And don't forget, the reason why the Rangers brought him in the trade is, besides for that, this trifecta won the Memorial Cup back in 2004 when Klein notched 21 points in 25 playoff games. Klein is a right-handed shooter, and the Rangers covet right-handed shooters because they're a very rare commodity in the NHL. When you look throughout the NHL, rosters, depth charts, and things as such, you'd be very hard pressed to find more than 2 right-handed defensive shooters on a team. And once Michael Sauer went down 2 years ago with an injury, that was the last time the Rangers had 3 righties on a team. With the move bringing Klein in, it's going to shore up that specific part of what Glenn Sather likes to see. Even keel, in a sense, for instead of having 4 lefties and 2 righties, now you got 3 and 3. It's all even up and down the line. And at the end of the day, this guy, he's got a little bit more seasoning than Michael Del Zotto, and has not been as up and down as Del Zotto's reign in New York, or time in New York has been. Some you might say it's a little bit of the change between coaches, between what John Tortorella wanted from Michael Del Zotto versus now what Alain Vigneault wants. But nonetheless, this is, as they say, it's a business is a business, and that's that. The Phillies went out and got a guy, Bobby Abreu. Last you remember him, I don't know, he took a full year off of Major League Baseball, went to play in the Venezuelan League. Supposedly, according to Ruben Amaro Jr., according to his appearance on the Mike Missinelli show on WPEN 97.5, The Fanatic in Philadelphia, he said that they've been tracking Abreu, and he's a left-handed bat who can come off the bench and be that guy to add some pop late in the game. He's going to be 40 soon. It's almost like a no-risk deal for the Phillies, but for the fans, is this the type of guy that they want? I highly doubt, because when you look at what he's done, it seems like his bat speed has slowed down over the last couple of seasons, and they really don't want this type of guy on the team. It seems almost like Amaro is sending the wrong message to the fan base, especially when down the 95 corridor across the New Jersey Turnpike. When you look at what the New York Yankees just did, signing a guy, Masahiro Tanaka, to shore up their pitching, shore up their starting rotation, they gave this guy a lot of bucks, man. $155 million, 7-year deal, opt-out option after the 4th year. When the Phillies fans see what the Yankees have done and what they continue to do under Brian Cashman leadership as the GM, and Hal Steinbrenner taking over from his father, it really almost leaves this really sour, bad, nasty taste in Phillies fans' mouths going forward, because they see what the Yankees have done and continue to do, and they see what Ruben Amaro Jr., at least in their eyes right now, is not doing. That's all for this week, and check it out next week. It's going to be a lot of fun leading up to the Super Bowl, my predictions, the weather, all of that and more. Sports here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
It's been 48 years Connecticut School of Broadcasting has helped place thousands of people, just like you, in exciting careers in radio, television, and the new media. At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, our hands-on approach is different. It's designed to have you spend less time in the classroom and more time in the studios. From the first day, you'll work with state-of-the-art equipment. Learn by doing from our team of industry professionals who come from their studios to ours. The best part about it, you'll learn it all in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. So do what I did. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO. Step into the fast-paced world of the broadcast media. Day and evening classes begin soon. Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Get trained and get connected now. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com.
Your computer is blowing up to the sounds of All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.